stuff been warmed over and redone, and it's all right. I'm glad they're getting it. I've been in this business for a long, long time, and even I didn't know where the music was going for a while. And I was saying, when are they gonna find that magic? When is the music gonna get back to simple and basic? Because I want to go back. I want to go back to a time when the music touched your heart and your soul and your mind and your body. I want to go back to a time when there were blue lights in the basement. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I want to go back to a time when slow dancing was still in style. And when you got out on the dance floor, you touched your partner. You didn't have to look for him. I want to go back to that time when the music made you feel like you wanted to fall in love and you wanted to drive up the Lookout Mountain, but still had enough mystery in it not to tell what you did when you got there. I want to go back to a time when the music was wonderful. It was a part of my life. Sent me to the prom with my crinoline skirt on. Even if I did drive myself. I want to go back. I want to find those people that made that kind of music, you know, and I just want to tell them thank you. Thank you for giving us romance and mystery. I want to find Nat King Cole and Billy Eckstine and Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and the Four Tops and the Temptations and the Pimps and Smokers. I want to find them, and I just want to walk up to them and say, you did it. You found that magic. I want to touch old Teddy Pendergrass. And I want to tell him, thank you for saying all the things we've been through. You should understand, like I understand you. 'Cause babe, I know the difference between right and wrong. I ain't gonna do nothing stupid to break up our happy home. Ah, don't get so excited if I come home a little late at night, 'cause we only act like children when we argue, fuss, and fight. Oh, oh. If you don't know me by now, if you don't know me, you will never, never, never know me. No, you won't. Oh, sing it one more time for me. You don't know me by now. Oh, no. You'll never, never, never know me. Then along came those spinners, and Felipe said, sometimes a boy will come and go. You reach for love, but life won't let you know.
Hello, hello. Hello. Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to Wisconsin International University. We will be starting the program in just a jiffy. But in the meantime, can I ask that we move forward and fill the space in front of us so that the rest of us who will be joining us will be at the back. Kindly come forward so we can see you. Yes, please, can we please come forward? Let's fill the space in front of us. Yes, you can still come forward. The seats are for you. The panel will be joining us. We have all of them in the house. We'll be joining in a short while, and the program can begin. The event will also be streaming live on our Facebook page, Wisconsin International University College, Ghana, and also on Twitter and Instagram. So if you have colleagues, party members, friends, family members who want to follow, you can ask them to do that. We'll also be live on 3FM. You can tune in to 3FM and follow the events. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Hey, are you here? Good evening. Yes, once again, you are welcome to the Wisconsin International University College. For those of you coming here the first time, I believe you're pleasantly surprised at what you see. For a lot of people, Wisconsin is just what you see in front. When you come in, you see a completely different thing. We are joined today by very noble personalities. Of course, all of us are noble people. As and when we go along, a lot more will be joining us. But without wasting too much time, with your permission, I want to start the program. Can we go ahead? Or we should wait a little while? Hello, are you here? Mr. Annan, I understand you have something for us. Okay, so while we wait for our package, once again, I want to welcome you to Wisconsin International University College. Wisconsin is 20 years today. And as part of the celebration, we've marked or set aside a number of activities, one of which we are witnessing today. This is a program under the School of Communication Studies. It's a seminar series which is held every year. This year, as you may be aware, because of the election, there are a lot of discussion going on. Some are talking about the manifesto, others are talking about Okada, others are talking about, you know them, you name them. We have decided to make this purely academic exercise. So for the party supporters, I'm sorry to disappoint you. You may not hear a lot of the Chowei. But I'm being told that once the two best friends get to meet, there is always bound to be some of what I'm talking about. You understand, right? Honorable Wawena Samoa and Sami Jemfi are here are best of friends, are they? Andy? Okay. So for your information, Wisconsin International University has 3 campuses. Where we are currently is the main campus. We have a city campus just adjacent the GBC at the Lutheran Church. We also have a bigger and greener campus in the Ashanti region, specifically located at Fiasi. So for those of you who have family, relatives, and friends in the northern half of the country who want to be part of the Wisconsin family and cannot come, and recommend an International University College in Kumasi for them. Before we go any further, I wish to invite Josephine Asebia, a student of the School of Communication Studies, to give us the opening prayer. Josephine, are you here? Let's give her a round of applause, please.
I will humbly ask us to be on our feet as we go to the Lord in prayer. Omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient God, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for making this day possible. We thank you for how far you have brought Wisconsin University International College. We thank you for each and every life present here today. Dear Lord, we commit this program into your hands. We pray committing all the panelists before you, Lord. We pray, Lord, for wisdom for them. We pray, Lord, that every word that will come out of their mouth, oh Lord, will be a word to move this country forward. We pray in the mighty name of Jesus that everything that we will say here today will propel this nation, will propel this university and make our lives better, oh Lord. We pray committing those who are on their way coming into your hands, same as you have brought us here safely. We pray that you will also grant them traveling mercies and bring them here safely. In all, we pray for the success of this program. We pray that everything that will be said here, Lord, will be whatever that we want to see in our lives and in this country, Lord. We thank you. We bless you, Abba Father. In the name of Jesus, I have prayed with thanksgiving. Amen.
Thank you very much, Josephine. At this point, we want to welcome you very well the Wisconsin way. But before we do that, I need to acknowledge a few personalities in our midst today. In no particular order, we have with us the Vice Chancellor at International University, Professor Obin. Let's give him a round. Thank you, sir, for making time off your busy schedule to join us. We also have in our midst the registrar for the university, Mr. Frank Yoboa. Please let's give it up for him. The next person is mostly regarded as the Deputy Chancellor. There is no such portfolio though. He is the Dean for the Business School. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mahmoud Jiju. Mr. Mamadou Jiju. Did I get it right, sir? Thank you. And of course, our host for today, he is the Dean for the School of Communication Studies, Dr. Kweku Roxon. I would acknowledge the others as we go along. Okay. As part of the strategies, Wisconsin International University employs a hybrid strategy in our education system. We employ both theory and practice. And so one thing you notice at your time in Wisconsin is the experiential learning we give to our students. From the School of Communication Studies to the nursing school, we have one facility or the other that allows the students some practical experience aside what they learn in the classroom or on the blackboard. As much as possible, we try to encourage constant interaction and engagement between academia and the industry, one of which we are seeing today. It is instructive to know that this very platform has been graced by equally important personalities in the past, some of whom include Kweku Sechiado, former CEO of Telecoms Ghana, and now the board chairman of the National Communications Authority, Gerhard Mensah, head of external affairs and legal, Vodafone Ghana, Dr. Kojo Asante of the CDD, and Dr. Sarah Akrofe Kwaku of the School of Communication Studies in the University of Ghana. This is an annual affair, and we hope to continue. At this point, like I mentioned earlier, let us welcome you very well. And to do that, I'd invite Madame Suzanne August to give us some rendition. Please, let's give that for her.
Thank you very much. This song is to encourage everybody here, in the times that we're in. Hey, something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, 'cause you took me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no, something inside so strong. Something inside so strong. The higher you build your barriers, the taller I become. Yeah, the faster you turn my rights away, the faster I will run. You can't deny me. You can decide to turn away. No matter, 'cause there's something. Something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, 'cause you're doing me wrong, wrong. Thought that my pride was gone. Hey, something inside so strong. Thank you very much.
I think we can do better for Suzanne. Let's give it up. Let's give it up for her. Suzanne isn't a product of Mentor or the MTN Project fame, or if I should say American Idol. She's a product of Wisconsin International University Music School. How many of you are aware we have a music school? Yes, we actually do have a music school here at Wisconsin. So for those of you who have a passion, who have interest in music, you can enroll and also polish your talent just like Susan. Thank you very much, Susan. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, our other guest will be unable to join us. The rep from the NDC, Sami Jemfi, is unable to join us, but we have a replacement, equally important personality. I'll introduce him as time goes on. But before I finally hand over, in fact, this program is going to be in two parts. The first part is what we are witnessing, the ceremonial part, and then the main discussing session is the second part. But before I hand over to the moderator, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to acknowledge a few individuals and organizations that have supported this initiative. Our media partners, 3FM, Media General, they are here. They are supposed to carry this live for us. Ghanaian Times, The Spectator, of course, Wisconsin Radio. We also have our own radio station here at Wisconsin. One of the very few communication schools to have a radio station on their own. Wisconsin News and Satellite Africa. Our sponsors, and I would expect that you give a round of applause to them. They've always supported us. The main sponsors, Consolidated Bank Ghana, CBG. Let's give it up for them, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, if I should say, the management of Wisconsin International University also supported this initiative. Let's give it up for them. And the good sound we are hearing is courtesy drum and bass. They have provided everything sound today. Let's give it up for them too. And of course, this wouldn't have been successful without the support of certain personalities here. Allow me to acknowledge a few of them. The Chancellor of the University, Reverend Dr. Paul Finn, he's been very supportive. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for him. Of course, the Vice Chancellor has always been there, giving us all the support we need to make this a realization. Give it up for him, please. He deserves it. The Registrar, Mr. Frank Obing. Of course, the Public Affairs, my unit, has been active, very, very active in getting this thing together. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the IT unit. Edwin, are you here? Thank you so much. You've been very industrious. You've been very supportive. Let's give it up for him, at least for Edwin. Ladies and gentlemen, we can do better, can't we? The estate units, the library, Communication Students Association, and of course, the finance office. We are now getting to the meat of the program. Kindly help me welcome the Dean for the School of Communication Studies to officially welcome us to this event. Dr. Kweku Roxin. Please give it up for him.
I hear the media professionals insist that if you're going to speak, you have to remove your face mask. So I hope I'm not breaking any protocols if I do that. So That's what I'm going to do right now. Okay. Now, I am very, very excited about the fact that this event is come on. For those of you who have a very good idea as to what happens in Wisconsin generally, and then what is often promoted by the School of Communication Studies, you realize that this is not a single event. This happens to be something that has been in the tradition. And I'm excited about the fact that the MC was able to mention some of the specific events which have taken place in the past. And all these things have been done in such a way then that we appreciate the fact that at Wisconsin International University College, we believe that we should mix academics with practice. So that's why we do this thing. We should mix theory with practice. We should also create a platform for people to understand what is really going on. And one of the best things that we can ever give the society at this moment is an opportunity like this for us to discuss the issue of elections. And elections from a political communication perspective. And not just that, but elections also from the fact to then that we need to realize that everything is about innovation, and everything is about strategy. So how do you handle a situation like this? And what we are doing now is just to lead you with one person who will be giving a general insight, provides a general insight as far as political communication is concerned. But specifically, we are very much interested in what another professional is going to talk about. And that is something to do with the digital era. I'll try and spend a little time on the digital era, but before I do that, I'm also excited about the fact that the two major parties, the world over, sometimes people think that there's always a third force, but I'm not too sure as to whether there's anything like a third force. But the two major political parties have decided that they'll be part of this program. It shows the importance of the brand Wisconsin, and it shows the commitment to which they are when it comes to issues related to political communication. Please, let's give the two political parties a very big round of applause. Yeah. Now, there's one person who may not come out very prominent as far as most of you are concerned, but we're talking about one of the panel members, and that panel member represents the Pen Plus Bytes. It's important that you realize that I don't even know whether there was even a coincidence in terms of the selection of Pen Plus Bytes, because we're talking about the digital era and specifically under the COVID era. Now, with the COVID era, we can see then that strategies and tactics are changing. People are doing more of using the traditional media and using the new media in order to send their messages across. So we're also very much excited about her being here. I'm sure later on the proper introductions will be done. So I'm really not going to spend my time on that. But let me just give you an insight as to something which was in today's daily graphic. And the heading was Political Campaigns in an Internet Age. And it's in page 7. For those of you who read the graphic, go and read page 7 and go and read what it's saying. Mr. Ahiabenu is a very distinguished person when it comes to matters relating to the new media. Now, he's brought out some ideas as to how to handle political campaigns in the internet age. He says, how do we use digital technologies as far as political parties are concerned? I'm just going to mention this, and I'll expect that you go and read the daily graphic here. One, you can use digital technologies for campaign events. You can use digital technologies for fundraising. You can use digital technology for community management and mobilization. You can use digital technology for resource management, moving results from polling stations to collation center. And then lastly, you can use digital technologies for operational structure and management. Now, I'm trying to leave you with this information, but I expect you that being a media-oriented person, I expect that all of you, you can go to the library, go and try and find out, get a copy, buy a copy so that the newspaper industry will thrive. But that's just by the way. So, as I said earlier, today is a very exciting day. My task is a very, very simple one. I am just the chief servant of the School of Communication Studies, the dean. The real person who will be welcoming you will be the vice chancellor. We call him the vice chancellor, others call him the president. But the bottom line is that he is the one who is the head of this place. He's what we call the landlord. So, ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, let's invite Professor Obimbreku to the floor. Yes, sir.
That document. Yes. The one that is there as a witness. Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Registrar, Mr. Frank Yeboah, the Registrar. I also want to recognize Mr. Justice Isaac Dose, the Council Chairman of this University Governing Council, who joined us. The Dean of the School of Business Studies, Dr. Roxon, who has just spoken. Other deans, heads of department, head of programs, other faculty of the university, members of staff and students, our invited dignitaries, our invited representatives of the media institutions, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to everybody. Wisconsin International University College, Ghana, is a fully owned Ghanaian private university established in January 2000. The university is located on this site, number 23 Akotubamfu Street, off the Agbogba Road, North Legon, Accra, and has a city campus at the St. Paul's Lutheran School at Kanda. Wisconsin, Ghana is fully accredited by the National Accreditation Board of Ghana. Currently, the university is affiliated to the University of Ghana, Legon, University of Cape Coast, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and the University of Development Studies, Tamale, Ghana. These are the top public universities that provide us with the certificates and also monitor our academic programs. Ladies and gentlemen, a special welcome is extended to our moderator for this evening's event, Mrs. Esi Asantiachi. Are you here, madam? And also, a warm welcome extended to our distinguished members of the panel. I think they also deserve an applause. I have been reliably informed that all the members and the moderator will be properly introduced very soon, and so I will not go any further on these illustrious persons. Let me now welcome all of you to Wisconsin International University College, Ghana, one of the leading private universities in the country. We are happy to announce that this event, which is earlier explained, happens to be one of the key activities of the School of Communication Studies, is being held during our 20th anniversary celebrations. As an institution, we have contributed our quota to the human capital development of Ghana by training various young men and women in various fields of endeavor, as well as those from certain professional disciplines. We can mention our Faculty of Law, School of Nursing, School of Communication Studies, Business School, our Department for Training Specialists in International Relations, and also various other diverse fields in the arts and humanities. Ladies and gentlemen, Our efforts are also at the community level, where we organize remedial lessons for SHS graduates who need to upgrade their results to qualify for university admission, as well as various short courses and access programs. I am only supposed to welcome you to our campus, and I pray that we have a very fruitful deliberations today. I am convinced that the School of Communication Studies could not have made a better choice in terms of the topic, the era, and members of the panel. Let us all enjoy and learn from this panel discussion today. And I thank you for your indulgence, and we seek that we shall all get back to our various homes and stations enriched by the deliberations of today's seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. VC. Thank you very much, sir. I think this brings us to the end of the first part of the program. But before I hand over to the moderator for the next part, allow me to acknowledge one very important personality in our midst. We've just been joined by the chairman for the University Council, that's in the person of Justice Jose. He also happens to be a former appeals court judge. Can we please give him a round of applause, please? He is the chairman for the University Council. All right, so at this point, I want to introduce the next person whom I'm going to hand everything over to. This person is AC Asante Entry. You've heard the name already. She's a communications expert with about 15 years experience garnered from consulting for many different clients, including mining, oil and gas, technology, health, agri, finance, among many others. AC is a founding partner and principal PR of Mahogany Consult, a local public relations consultancy firm. Ms. Asante Entry brings this wealth of industry experience into the classroom, where she teaches introduction to PR, protocol and events management, and public relations strategies and campaign here at Wisconsin International University, of course, with the School of Communication Studies. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, let's welcome Ms. AC Asante Entry. My name is Nuruddin Mohammed. I've been your MC. I also deserve some applause, don't I? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nuruddin. Good evening once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to this evening's panel discussion on the topic Political Communication in the COVID Era, Strategies and Innovations for Election 2020. I mean, in Ghana and the world over, we're all witnesses to how the coronavirus pandemic has really affected various aspects of our lives. In fact, causing massive disruptions to everything that we do. Now we see that the world has gotten over the shock of the changes that the pandemic has brought about. And what you see happening everywhere are conversations about how we can, as it were, understand this new normal and how we can adapt to it going forward into the future. And tonight, that is exactly what we're going to do. We want to have a simple conversation about how COVID has affected our political culture, particularly the way in which we communicate. And so it's not a debate about manifestos. It is not a debate about which party is likely to win the elections. And to help me do that this evening, I have 4 experts in politics and communication to help me do that. And in no specific order, I would like to introduce the first panelist, Mr. Bismarck Obobi-Aite. Is a member of the communications team of the National Democratic Congress, and he's the NDC chairman for the Ayawaso West Wogan constituency. He is also the host of Your Take on Home-Based TV. Mr. Obobi-Aite, you're welcome. If you please come up. and take your seat right there. Thank you. My next panelist is Mrs. Juliet Amoa. Juliet is a seasoned leader and coach who has worked in a multicultural organization for the last 20 years, 14 of those in senior positions in 4 countries across sub-Saharan Africa. She trained initially as a journalist, and she brings some urgency and the energy found in the newsroom to the business environment. Recently, Juliet became the executive director of Pen Plus Bytes, a 19-year-old civil society organization which is focused on using existing technologies or creating low-cost tech solutions where none exist to tackle civic challenges. Working with and through a team of passionate young people, she has forged partnerships and collaborations to engage with public, private, and third sector counterparts to increase digital literacy and also to improve media and information literacy in Ghana. Welcome, Mrs. Samoa. Thank you. My next panelist is Mr. Yawabing Asamoah, and he is the incumbent member of parliament for the Adentan constituency for the New Patriotic Party since 2017. He is a legal practitioner with 24 years of experience, and he has a lot of experience in institutional governance. Mr. Boabing Asamoah was a special senior aide in charge of legal and media affairs to the late His Excellency Alhaji Aliu Mahama, 2005-2008, the then Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, where he supported the policy and delivery, media, and political advocacy needs of the presidency. He is currently the Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party, ranking member for the Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament, and a member of the Constitutional, Legal, and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. Mr. Boabing Asamoah, you're welcome. And joining us via Zoom, we have our 4th and final panelist, Dr. Eche Sikanku. He holds a PhD in journalism and mass communication from the University of Iowa. He holds a master's degree in journalism and communication studies, also from the same university, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and sociology from the University of Ghana. He is a national and international scholar with both practical and professional journalism and research experience. His main area of teaching and consultancy practice is in audience testing, political communication, quantitative and qualitative research of communication materials, advertising, and public policy communication. He is also the author of The Afrocentric Obama and Lessons in Political Campaign. So Eche, welcome, and we're happy that you can join us via Zoom. Shall we appreciate and welcome our panelists with a round of applause? All right. Can someone help? Is it working? Good. So before we get started, let me take a minute once again to appreciate our media partners, Media General, Ghanaian Times, The Spectator, Wisconsin Radio, Wisconsin News, and Satellite Africa. And then, of course, our general sponsors, Consolidated Bank of Ghana, Wisconsin International University College, Drum, and BAS. Thank you all. So without wasting much time, I want to go right into the conversation. Hey, Dr. Sikanku, are you with us? Dr. Sikanku. IT, let's give them just a minute to connect. We want to set the ball rolling and understand what political communication is all about. Hello, Dr. Sikanku. Can you hear us? All right, well, whilst we wait to be connected, then I'll toss this question over to you, Mr. Samoa. Can you help us? What is political communications? What is about? What does it entail?
Well, I'm not an expert, and I'll acknowledge Dr. Kokuro, who many years ago. Dr. Oxon, good to see you, sir. Right, I won't say that Dr.
Okay. Hello, Dr. Sikanku. Can you hear us?
Okay, hello?
Yes, hello, we can hear you. And can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yes, please. I can hear you perfectly.
So, welcome to this evening's panel conversation. And we wanted to lay a foundation for this evening by understanding what political communication entails.
Yeah, I'm sorry, say that again.
What is political communications? What is it all about?
Oh, right, okay. So, thank you very much, and good evening to you. Good evening to the co-panelists and to everybody. Thank you very much for having me. Just to go straight to the point, because I'm sure you've been doing quite a number of things, so I wouldn't waste too much time. Let me go straight to the point. So, when we talk about political communication, there are several ways of looking at it. One of the things that we always need to keep in mind when we talk about political communication is the idea that it is concerned with any form of exchange of information that takes place within the political system. Now, there are several ways different scholars have looked at political communication. For some, at the basic level, it is that exchange of information or transfer or transmission of information that takes place in the political system. So it can happen from the governmental level, it can happen from the political party level, and it can happen among the citizens. There is also a media angle to it, where the media become the space for the transfer and the transmission of political information. So in that way, the media then becomes, part of the idea of political communication. Then they just don't transmit that information, but then they also become a space for the contestation or deliberation of different issues that take place in the political system. So be it a radio discussion, being in a phone-in program, or the citizens being involved in that discussion within the political space or the political system, or as they call it, the public sphere, then that can also be seen as political communication. So the American Public Relations Association sees it on the basis as the exchange of information that takes place in the public sphere. And that then means any other factors or institutions that are connected with the exchange of that information, i.e. the governmental level, the political party level, the media level, and the citizens level. Now, when it comes to a campaign time or elections, it looks like the political parties are at the center or at the center of that communication that takes place, right? But then outside that, there are several ways of construing this form of political communication.
Thank you very much. That's a very comprehensive definition. And so just to recap what you've said, I picked up a number of actors. So that means in the political communication space, we're not looking at just what information comes from political parties. We are looking at even what citizens also have to give back to political parties. We're looking at civil society organizations like Pen Plus Bytes. We are also looking at government as well. Thank you. So looking at this, this question goes to my reps from the two main political parties, and I'll start with you, Mr. Obobia Iti. When does political communication start for you? Does it only start in an election year?
Thank you, and greetings to my co-panelists. To you, our audience. Frankly speaking, political communication does not and will not start during election, because communication as it is everyday life and everyday activity. And it also helps with political parties to spread and influence political decisions, and policy makers rely on communication to push their information through. For us as political parties, we don't only communicate during elections, because we have policies and programs that run over a political period, let me say 4 years. So at any point in time, we have a way of communicating with the public. Either you are in government or you are in opposition, you have an idea to push. And that idea can only happen when you voice it out through all the other mediums that are available, either face-to-face like this, using the social media, the traditional media, and any other form that you depending upon the audience, let me put it that way. But with the effect that COVID-19 has brought on us as political parties, frankly speaking, it has made communication very expensive.
I think I want you to hold on with that.
Okay.
And we will interrogate that aspect in a short while. So coming to you, Mr. Boabiang-Samwa, your colleague said that political communication doesn't only happen in an election year. What can you add to that? When does it start for you?
Thank you very much. It is necessary that I bow to my Lord, the Chair. So, my Lord, and that will mean that the protocols are observed, including the VC and Dr. Rossi, all of us observed. He's put it aptly. We don't stop communicating. We communicate all the time, internally as well, within the parties, and then with our publics, both in and out of power, or better still, let's say authority, in and out of public authority. We seek mandates, and it's a continuous process. We seek the mandate, we pursue the mandate once we have it. So you seek the mandate when you are in opposition, you have to communicate hope. You have to sell hope. You acquire the mandate, you have to implement the vision that you use to seek the mandate. In all of that, you need to communicate. When you sell a program, the only difference between us and a religious body is that the religionists can say that God disappointed you. The politician is responsible for his message and his vision. So it means that you must consistently communicate your vision. And the bottom line for me as a practitioner is believability. You are selling and you must be believable.
Let's hold on that believability. It's a topic we will interrogate further. So we're learning that political communication doesn't stop. In fact, it's an ongoing process. It starts from even when you are in opposition, and when you win power, it even includes what the communication government has with the citizens. So I'll come back to you, Mr. Samwa. Why should citizens be concerned about political communication? Why should we be interested in it?
Thank you very much. I think that
Yes.
I'm not sure the way that I'm holding it. Thank you very much. So thanks, AC, for the question about citizens. I think that citizens ought to be aware of the things that political campaigners and political communicators do in general and what they're doing in this COVID era. I think that there are issues of packaging of the information information can be weaponized. It can be packaged in such a way as to stir you up to do or not to do what you would like to do. For the purposes of this discussion, I'll leave it at that. And we see that more and more as we evolve and use new digital tools, more and more as we find out where the core of our audiences and voters are, where political parties are using different messaging channels and different ways of packaging information to reach those different audiences. And so data has become a very important has become a very, very important commodity, if you will. And that data causes them to segment and put aside different groups of people so that they can target them with different messages. And that's what we're finding is happening in the space. And so just to go back to the core of your question, I think that as consumers of information, we need to be aware of the packaging that happens. We need to be aware of the content and the thoughts processes behind that content, and we need to be able to engage that content on that level and to act responsibly.
Very, very important to be able to understand it and act responsibly, and that would be determined by whom we vote for when come elections, right? So still coming to you, Mr. Samoa, we've seen that one of the biggest impacts of the coronavirus pandemic is a massive shift of almost every aspect of our life online. A massive shift of a lot of things that we do online. How much of our political culture, particularly communication, has also migrated online?
I think the two political parties will tell you that they have done quite a lot of work over the years. 2016 definitely saw an improvement in the way that we're using digital tools and digital technologies. In the world in general, I think that 2008 is where you saw your Obama coming onto the scene with the packaging that he did of his political message. Now, in Ghana, the political parties started quite slowly from where we sit at Pen Plus Bites. They started quite slowly by using traditional methods and traditional ways of reaching the audience, and those were radio and TV. They then moved slowly to websites, but those have not been very popular. Now come the advent of social media, which has given us different access to different groups of people. We see that our political parties have started to engage a lot more on WhatsApp, certainly. They've started to have blogs that they're communicators and foot soldiers, who we no longer should be calling foot soldiers. We should be calling them digital soldiers, are actually out there and doing a lot of the work that they're doing online. So there's WhatsApp, there's blogs, they're using websites, they're using SMS. You get random SMS messages from the political parties, and they're also using their Facebook Lives and others. What I haven't seen them do, and which is why I say that, again, it's still a slow process, is to engage with the younger voter on TikTok, for example. TikTok is now very much in the space. You see younger voters between 18, at least 25, they're on there, and that's where they consume a lot of their information. And I'm yet to see that seamless integration of the different tools into one campaign that allows them to touch on these various segments of the population.
Well, that is free consultation right there. TikTok is available for you to explore, particularly in reaching out to our young voters. Now, coming to you, Dr. Sikankum, from what Mrs. Samoa said, we clearly have seen a gradual shift, albeit slow, of political communication activities online, which is good. But doesn't that create a certain gap or deficiency within the political communication space where it limits access to information to make the right decision? Because we are aware that you need to be literate, for example, to be able to access some of these digital platforms. You need to have the technology, mobile phone technology. I think in Ghana, even though our mobile phone technology penetration is beyond 50%, it still leaves a wider gap. You have people in rural areas who don't even have access to electricity. So if we're seeing a shift, doesn't it create a gap for those who cannot access these digital forms?
Thank you very much. Yes, and thanks to the panelists to a very interesting discussion. Yes, the simple answer is that it does create a gap, and it is definitely one of the biggest challenges that we have as a developing nation. When you look at the literature on the digital divide, you'd realize that the divide between the rural and the urban in Ghana is quite huge. In the first place, digital penetration in Ghana is also, very, very low. And it's worse when it comes to the rural areas. So yes, there is definitely that particular gap. Although the numbers of Facebook users, the number of WhatsApp users and social media users in the country is largely growing. But the point is that a lot of this is happening within the urban areas. So that's definitely a huge concern. However, when you go to the original definitions of political communication, some of which is, I mentioned initially, that it is about the role of communication in the political process. Then we know that this communication does not take place only within social media. In fact, when you compare it to the wider spectrum of Ghanaians, the amount on social media is quite limited, right? So there are other forms of communication that take place. And when the representatives from the political parties were speaking, they said something that, I do want to affirm or allude to. They said something about the continuous process of communication taking place within the political space. And if you listen or if you read one of the major names in this, Albeck, he says that it's the continuous relationship between political institutions, actors, the media, citizens, and media consumers. So it does take place in so many ways. I was you travel to other parts of the world, other parts of the country, and you realize that the role of opinion leaders is so huge over there. So these are people who might be on social media, but then the information that they get tends to trickle down to the other people in the communities. So I do think that, fine, social media, internet, digital is a major part of the new wave of political communication, but it is only a part of it. And that's why if you're on social media, it does not necessarily mean or translate to electoral victory or electoral outcomes, because the audiences are very much segmented when it comes to political communication.
All right, thank you. So coming to my two major parties once again, from what Dr. Sikanku has said and what Mr. Samoa has said, clearly there are opportunities and then there are challenges. We cannot focus only on social media because then we'll be disenfranchising, as it were, a certain large section of people who may not have access to it. Do you see this challenge and opportunity, and how are you taking advantage of both? So I guess Mr. Abuabia Sama, you'll start.
Thank you. Hello. Let me do a bit of political communications here. My people from Banenta, say hi. Politics is very personal now, so I don't see what is happening now in terms of social media access or political communication as a gap. Indeed, as already observed by Julian, it's been slow on the part of the political parties. It is rather the opportunity of COVID that has moved us, political parties, very rapidly onto virtual platforms. Otherwise, the very nature of our politics It's so personal, it's so close that we enjoy the traditional media and face-to-face contact much more. And you gain more mileage with face-to-face than with media, because people want to be a part of the process, and body language matters. Branding, imaging, how you dress, how you conduct yourself, they all matter. But now we have the opportunity of moving to a virtual situation where parties, because of COVID-19, are being compelled to go up onto virtual spaces. So you are doing two things. You are not abandoning traditional media. We are strengthening our ability in traditional media, sustaining it whilst adding on virtual media. So you will notice that we've done some very, very important activities virtually. We brought out our presidential candidate and the nomination of his vice president virtually under very strict conditions. Yet we managed to connect worldwide and locally to our party folks so that they participated. We launched our manifesto virtually. We couldn't have the kind of audience but because of that need, we also did a very rigorous job on the manifesto itself and the launch and the follow-up activities, because then you may not be in a position personally to engage. So as it is going out there on the media, you have to put in very sophisticated mechanisms to ensure that people have access and effective access. Because it's been slow, yes, we haven't reached TikTok actively, but we are getting there because we are already working on that. But we, as a political party, are actually running the virtual campaign platform where we have a platform for campaign and topics are engaged and people patch in and listen and engage and speak with the people. In 2012, our presidential candidate and now president had several engagements with the youth online, interactive engagements with the youth online, and has since then had a very strong engagement online. But now, I think COVID has given us a very wonderful opportunity. We have one or two critical challenges. The first, I believe, is personnel expertise and equipment. We simply do not have enough people who are media literate in order to take advantage of the sudden advent of COVID and the restrictions and how we have to operate, which means you have to find people, you have to train them, and you have to bring them up to speed very, very quickly, still under restricted conditions. So we do Zoom training, we do meetings and otherwise. You also have to have equipment, good quality equipment, and that means that where you are challenged by access to forms of internet or otherwise, you have other means that you can still use to engage them. And that means it's also expensive, because where you could do with a simple telephone or a simple radio, you now have to have a phone that is internet compliant and other equipment. So it's a bit expensive, but I think it's going to be sustained and it's going to expand. The way I see the trajectory now is going to be sustained and it's going to expand. And I'm sure the NDC is also looking at sustaining and expanding it, because once you go online, you engage and you feel that it's good. You reach more people, you engage better, you have nuances that reflect on your target audiences. So you can segregate better, deal with certain audiences better, like you're saying now. You can segregate the youth, other interests, and engage them better. So we can only grow. I believe we can only grow.
Mr. Aite, how is your party also taking advantage of the opportunities that COVID has brought?
Thank you. Hello. Thank you. I think we are discussing, our discussion is on political communication. But I believe that COVID-19 has given opportunity to every aspect of human endeavor, including the classrooms and everywhere. we as political parties, we started using technology to disseminate our information, but it was not as serious as COVID-19 era. Now, if you follow the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, both when he was a president and as a flag bearer, he tried as much as possible to use technology to disseminate information. If you happen to follow him on social media, the Twitter and other forms of social media, he's very active there. And even during the promulgation or coming out with our manifesto, you remember he has a platform through voice call that can leave message, he comes, he lets. These are some of the doing. And currently, all information about John Dramani Mahama website, www.johnmahama.org. All the programs, all the activities are there that you leave information there. Team will go there, follow, and answer you. Apart from, we believe that people, the voters, I mean, will be covered by this social. Because when you look at our vote pattern, the urban settings, they are okay when it comes to using the Facebook, using the TikTok you are talking about, using the WhatsApp and others. There are some villages there is no network. So how can you communicate with such a person? So it has become necessary that as political parties, both our president and our flag bearer, they are all going back to the ground to meet leaders. I mean opinion leaders. There are certain chiefs that their area there is no network. So he cannot go to Facebook or WhatsApp. You need to go and talk to that person. So we are exploring both means of disseminating our information. But we want to do it more like the other part of the world. Everybody, India and other countries, the elections are being run on virtual platforms. You go to US, they are doing the same thing. That is what we are adapting, but our system is very expensive for some people to use technology to track politicians. And people want to have a feel of a candidate. My brother here as a parliamentary candidate, somebody wants to see you to give him a high five before he will have that confidence in you. You cannot get that opportunity on social media. So still there is the need for us to exploit the other traditional way that we've been using since 1992. Like your type and my audience here, they are conversant with the issues we are talking about. They will be comfortable not to meet an MP or a presidential aspirant. They will be comfortable in their home, go to their website, go to Facebook, go to Twitter, Instagram, to follow what they are doing. For that one, we are okay with it. But there is aspect. It's very expensive for others, which I will talk about. Somebody will not be comfortable going to Facebook to listen to audio or video of a presidential candidate. It's very expensive. Going to YouTube to go and follow a candidate is very expensive. So in all these things, looking at the dynamics of our economy, it is obvious that that is the way forward. But it is not penetrating as expected because of the cost involved, the cost implication. And others are also handicapped. When you look at the mobile phone penetration, they will tell you over 5 million or whatever population. But how many of them have the Android phone? Only in the urban sectors that somebody will have 4 or 3 handsets that are, Android. When you go to the village, all that they can do is to say hello and dial a number. So we are also trying to use text messaging. Currently, all the political parties, including the MPP, we are making effort to call voters and prompt them that we are there for them, and election day, they should do it for us. We also use street campaigning. It's also another form of campaigning that we have adopted. It's a means of communicating. Our messages are on the placards, and we are displaying it at vantage point, populated areas where people can have a look and also know what we are doing. So the avenues are many. Looking at our circumstances, the economic condition of your people, then you devise a way that your message will penetrate. So all in all, COVID-19 has brought about a very good opportunity for us. Many people who are not social media friendly, they are forced to go there because that is where you can get the necessary information. This morning, before I am a professional accountant, for me to sign off an account, there should be a board meeting. I sat in my office, my other partner was also somewhere, together with the board members in their various locations. We were able to conclude the account, and we signed and used fast system, or we scanned our signature pages, the company attached, and they submit to GRA. So I'm saying that we have reached a stage where the system has helped these things to flourish. In other parts of the world, when you have a good communication structure, where access to technology, I'm talking about mobile technology, is very, on the speed, it helps us not to waste much time. COVID-19 has reduced my company fuel costs. It has reduced fuel costs, but it has increased communication costs. So in all, it will balance off. So we are watching and we are also studying the system. A time will come that political parties will have a swift way. Not all the media, we will study. We are doing profiling of all the tools available. The economical accessible ones and the most friendly ones, we will explore them more. Your program is very strategic, but a little bit late, because it will open our eyes to do more in terms of how we communicate during COVID-19. But
and that
better
is exactly
late than
what
never.
we are trying to do.
Better late than never. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Better late than never. We are sharing ideas and also empowering each other. Now, still this question goes to both of you. With the easing of restrictions, hitherto political rallies, and in Ghana we call them mammoth rallies, was such a key feature in political campaigning and a big platform for disseminating your messages and telling and giving your message or selling your vision to the electorate. These days we see on TV your two flag bearers moving out, going out into the country, and scores of people gathering. Are those not pseudo rallies? I'm having a feeling that we are not missing the big rallies. How important are rallies to the political campaign process, particularly in terms of communication?
I like pseudo rallies.
Yes.
What you see happening now are spontaneous to a large extent, where people want to touch and feel the candidate. Like you said, we can't abandon the traditional. And earlier on, I observed that politics has become very personal and local. So when you travel out there, as our leaders are, the people down there feel the leadership, get close, and so their arrival tends to spark off a certain level of spontaneity, and it gives challenges where restrictions are concerned. Traditionally, rallies haven't really been where you rally the undecided. Rallies tend to be for the convinced, the decided, but they're a show of force. When you have a big rally where all your people are, it's a show of force that you are ready, you are prepared, that you are moving forward. I see that going forward beyond the restrictions, we may have huge rallies for very large, important situations, but their position will diminish a bit if we are able to move to very effective virtual platforms. It's more inclusive to be virtual. You reach a lot more people than a rally, and you're able to also reach those who are not convinced. You're able to reach those who are not convinced. So going forward, I expect to see more effectiveness on the virtual front, but strengthening of the traditional means, and especially rallies, will become rallying points for very, very important large events.
Dr. Sikanku.
Hi.
I hope you heard the points made by Mr. Boabian Sama. From your point of view as a political communications expert, what are the pluses and demerits of holding rallies? I think I was listening to a conversation by one of the top politicians, and this person was saying, I don't want to mention names, and the person was saying that actually political parties are not missing rallies because it costs so much to run a rally, and that much of the funding that would have gone into organizing a rally is now being channeled to the one-on-one, the face-to-face. From where you sit, what are the pluses and merits of having a rally? And do you see that the absence of it is affecting political communication leading up to December?
Thank you very much for your question. Mr. Honorable Wabinya Samuel's point, very well taken. We actually know each other, but on a very different level, so I'll reveal it later on. But very well taken. So yes, and he made a very important point. Just a second. He made a very important point that it is a show of force. I agree that to an extent, that is what it is. But you see, if you look at rallies, their position in the whole political campaign, it's an opportunity to see the candidate physically. It is an opportunity to engage in some form of mass communication because there's a speech and all of that. The rallies also give a certain feel and a certain tone to the campaign. People are able to bond together as people who identify with the campaign. And some people attend rallies to learn more about the candidate on a personal level or on a physical level as well. For the news media, the rallies also provide a lot of fodder or a lot of communication information that they can use for their media work. But then, of course, once it's beamed to people at home or to people who are not physically present at the campaign, they also get to learn a lot from it. And really, what is a presidential election without a rally? I mean, that is the mother's milk of any political campaign. That is the signature, the insignia, or the exemplar that we are in campaign season. When those rallies are held in the constituencies, the music is played, the candidates come on board, they rally the people, they sing, they organize, and people actually get into the mood of the election. It whips up the interest, it whips up the enthusiasm. People are able to engage, and all of a sudden we know there's election season, and people look forward to voting day to vote. So apart from the educational purposes that rallies or the political processes that rallies have, they also do have that kind of entertainment entertainment functions that they play. I remember in 2016, the very last rally that the NDC did at the stadium, Accra Sports Stadium. I was there, as a reporter and other things, doing my own research and stuff. And it speaks to the show of force that he said. They occupied the whole stadium. It was a very big carnival that they had over there. The next day, Sunday, the MPP did their own, and people were looking at the crowds to see who is going to beat the other when it comes to the crowd. So I believe they did this at the Trade Fair Center. If I'm right, you can correct me. And it was one of those last events. The candidates came, the second lady came, and it was a huge, huge show of force. So, but we all know that from a research perspective, you cannot use those crowds to make any scientific or any social scientific estimation or conclusions about the outcome of the election. So if you intend to engage in those kind of crowd politics, you might be disappointed in one way or the other because people could bus in supporters from other places and the crowds may not be as spontaneous or as organic as we've known it to be. But those rallies, like I said, do have a role to play because they whip up the enthusiasm. You are at home and you see your candidate on the platform, rousing the audience. They whip up that enthusiasm of the audience, and it might push people to go and vote. And like I said, they are a major characteristic or a feature of the campaign season. But if you come to now, you want to compare it to COVID-19, and look at what is happening. Are we missing the campaigns? How much of a gap is it? What are we losing? What role are they playing and all of that? I think that what we are losing is to the extent that that kind of enthusiasm and interest, we do not see it. And no matter how you do it online, I know even in the United States, there's the idea of the virtual rally. There is the idea of the virtual campaign. And even I believe that I've seen the MPP, I'm yet to see the NDC virtual rally too, but I've seen them be used in Ghana in a way. So yes, they're trying to make up for it. It will not be the same, but some of the political parties are doing a great job in making up for the absence of these rallies. And I'm sure as we go on with the discussion, we'll talk about the MPP strategy, which I've mentioned a bit of it, but the NDC have their own strategy as well. They've used Facebook Live very, very effectively. They've used those virtual community engagements and have analyzed both parties very effectively as well. So these things are making up for the rallies. What I do think should be done is to continue with such efforts to maintain that enthusiasm and maintain that kind of engagement with the voters, because voter enthusiasm is very difficult to maintain, and it has a direct relationship with electoral, what do they call it, the turnout on election vote and on election day. So that needs to be sustained in one way or the other. And when it comes to digital, there are ways in which we can maintain that. So unfortunately, we don't have the big parties, the carnivals that we have, but it's manifesting in one way or the other. You talked about the studio campaign, where you see the candidates sitting on in a car, and then they go, they wave, and they meet. So it's happening in one way or the other, but not in the way that we've seen it in the past.
So talking about the euphoria and the excitement, which is obviously necessary and important when we are trying in these times. Mrs. Amwa, how can we translate or transfer that euphoria and excitement online as we see that becoming, as we say, the new normal, and as we see that the youth are more active online? How do we whip up that excitement online?
Well, thank you. I think what I'll start off is by taking on a bit from what Dr. Sikanku was saying about that euphoria that people see at a political rally, which our two political party communicators have said is actually a show of force. Now, that euphoria, if a political campaigner or a political communicator is looking carefully, they will be able to, as it were, gauge the sentiment of the people. Now, you'll see that at those rallies, sometimes you will have, let's say, Honorable Abuabeng Asamoah is here, yay! And then they say, Julieta Moa from a Sylvie constituency is here. Yeah. And it happens. You do see, if you're watching quite carefully, you will see and you will be able to gauge the mood of the election. Yes, you may not be able to call the election, as Dr. Sikanku was saying. You may make a mistake in using the masses and the amounts of people at any gathering, but you can make a decision on which candidates are popular and how it is likely to go on the polling day, on election day. Now, moving quickly into your question about how do we replicate the euphoria of the face-to-face campaign online. I think that online actually even gives us a lot more opportunity to create a sense of urgency, as I would like to call it. Why do I say that? If you look at the campaign that's going on in the Americas at the moment, in North America at the moment, you'll see that online, you're able to create memes or memes, as some people call them. You are able to create skits. You are able to create sound bites. And AI is creeping into that, where you will have deep fakes as well that make people laugh, which spur people on to do or not to do on polling day. And so I'm saying that, yes, there is an opportunity to create those. Now we can then look at the pros and cons of that and the ethics of creating that euphoria. Because in creating that euphoria, you can put what you call positive fake news. And PFN is something that we are finding a lot of now. I think quite recently we had the Papano saga. And that was turned around. That was turned around by political communicators into statements that had a bit of truth, but also had some mis or disinformation. And that's what you find that is happening online, which is putting that excitement that the face-to-face campaigns was achieving in the digital sphere. And so I think that there are opportunities. Dr. Honorable Boabenga Sama was saying earlier on that one of the things that they lack is skills and skilled personnel to actually create these memes that I'm talking about, create the skits, do the deep fakes, do the packaging of the hashtags and all of those things. Recently, just now that I mentioned hashtags, we've all seen what has happened with the special police force in Nigeria, End SARS Now, and it's been overthrown. And it's a certain euphoria, it's a certain galvanizing of people, a certain mobilization, all online, that has caused that. Again, speaking about creating that euphoria, it takes your mind back to the Arab Spring, and you find that again, people were able to mobilize and cause action, excite people to a certain course of action. So I don't think that the euphoria that we find in face-to-face or one-on-one interventions can't be replicated online. Actually, they can be, and they are even more powerful. What we really need to start looking at is the ethics of that and how dangerous those sorts of euphoria creation can be or can get.
Very valid points there. Thank you. Just to remind us that we're live on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Wisconsin Radio. Join us on Facebook at WIUC-GHANA. Like, share, create watch parties, join the conversation. Now let's move on to political communication tools. And there are so many of them. Press conferences, campaign songs. And this year, I don't know, you have to tell me, I'm not really feeling the songs. I'm not hearing the songs from the two parties. We have flags, posters, billboards, the use of celebrities, influencers, videos, documentaries, photos. Which of these communication tools have you found to be most effective? And I'll start with you, Mr. Aiti.
Thank you very much. I think all are very important depending upon the audience you are targeting. Billboards are very, very important. Posters are very, very important. That creates the impression of the presence of the candidate, both the parliamentary and the presidential. Currently, as I'm here, I'm following my presidential candidate. Deba is being at Gomoa de Rampon, where he's engaging the chiefs. You can go there and watch him. It's a powerful tool that Orajon, my candidate, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, has exploited to some extent. And everyday activities of his is being shown live on Facebook and some other TV stations. The radio has also become a powerful tool. You see all the candidates after their use one of the powerful FM stations within the region with some other linkages with other stations to really espouse the messages that are peculiar to that particular region. So the tools are many. we also issue statements at the end of every regional tour, every activity. The party tries to issue statements where the media houses will also leverage for news items. Apart from that, you can also see most of the programs and activities, especially those who are in power. You see them projecting on billboards, this is this, this is this. The same thing, those in opposition, I'm talking about opposition political parties, they also share their ideas on billboards. Is this year that you've not seen the electronic billboards? But I believe the elephant will by all means do one.
And on that note, let me move to the elephant, as you said, someone. Which of these myriad communication tools have worked for your party? And where are the songs? Yes.
Why did you ask him for his songs? All of them.
Do you hear? Have you listened to Mahama Fa? You've not. Oh, there are a lot of them. I'll push some to your WhatsApp page for you.
Let's have this up.
All of them work, and many of them are tried and tested. Posters, T-shirts, press conference. They all work, and they work very well. What is new now and seems to be an area we are not quite on top of, but also works very much, is the virtual space, WhatsApps, tiny short creatives on WhatsApp and otherwise, where they are also used to push up excitement, as well as the things you said, the dark end things with fake news and all that. They influence people very much. That is the target audience that they reach, except that perhaps they are not so large a segment of the political population. But all the tools have been developed over the years, and we are seeing new ones coming on board as well. So all of the tools work. We practice them in the field, and they work across board. The songs, perhaps we were a bit late because of COVID. That is the best way of putting it. COVID compressed the entire political calendar into a very short period until the registration. The EC started the registration. You could hardly find any political activity going on because the restrictions were real. The restrictions were real. So post the restrictions, which was the gradual lifting towards the register process, and then you had my party, for example, doing its primaries after the register, and then immediately afterwards we were in the campaign season in the lead up to the voting day, 7th December. So we are having to rely a great deal on our old songs. And obviously, because they are old, we are not stressing that part of it too much. We have one or two new ones, but we are not able to test them as effectively as we would have wished.
We will be watching out for those songs. Yes, for the songs. And it was interesting to note how I think at a certain point, both of you used each other's song to celebrate.
Once you have won, you have the luxury of celebrating.
You have the luxury of celebrating. Now, so all these tools that you use and the many channels that you use to communicate, and we've heard, both of you have talked about the expense even of virtual media. How do you fund your communication activities?
Just like we fund all political activity. Since time immemorial, political activity has been contributory. You fund it from sources that are in a position to support. And therefore, we, like any other political party throughout the world, cultivate sources that can support political activity. I fund my activities from well-wishers, from people donate in kind as well. And sometimes you have certain activities that you don't need cash for. But there's a perception that campaigns are cash rich and cash soaked. It is not necessarily the case. It is not necessarily the case because people pitch in all over and every little helps. You have people giving you fuel. So when you move, there's an assumption that you've bought fuel, but somebody may have pitched in. Of course, there's a cash element to it, but essentially, it is very, very contributory.
Mr. Ite, do you have anything to add to that? Yes.
Yes, I think depending upon the expectations of the people, the citizens, financing political activities becomes easier, especially at this dispensation that people are yearning for change. They will call you willingly to come for resources to be able to penetrate. So it depends on how you present yourself. Your message also determines where your sources will be coming from. If people have hope and aspiration in your political party manifesto, financing it becomes easier. Sometimes the media houses, they finance some of our means of communication or our communication unknowingly. They invite us to political shows. We go, we espouse our political message. Like myself, I host a program, 2 hours on the television free of charge. So these are some of the things. If we should pay for it, it's going to be expensive. But as part of corporate social responsibility of those stations, both FM and TV stations, they give us opportunity. And it costs a lot to be there, but we get it free. So these are some of the things that we do. People print posters, T-shirts, free of charge. They fuel your car. Some will donate an office. Some will say, okay, come for this number of posters because I've seen that, okay, your candidate is not visible in this area. I believe in your candidate. So most of the things are coming from well wishers, and we hold them in high esteem.
Thank you. So I think Juliet, you wanted to say something, yes. Quite briefly.
It's gone, okay. So I just wanted to say quite briefly that I'm curious, and it's curious to hear both of the political parties say how they're funding their campaigns. And what that does is raises corruption, the issue of corruption, because if you have people giving you gifts and so on and so forth, the question is, how do you then repay them, or how do you, as it were, acknowledge those funds that they've given you over time? And so I'm curious because none of them has said any of the things that they can do digitally. If you look at the 2008 campaign that Obama ran, he collected $1 each or so on and so forth, different permutations of money from the electorate themselves. If you say you believe in me as a candidate, then fund me. And so by collecting $1 each from, or a cedi each from 1 million voters, that is 1 million cedis that you can use to actually do your work. And so GoFundMe and all of those other online spaces are there for us to start exploring so that the campaigns won't be,
Very
it's
briefly.
important because you raise the specter of corruption. It's important that we deal with this. We can't presume that somebody helps and then the assumption is that they will be corrupt. But in electronic, yes, not everybody does. In electronic means, the MPP has been raising funds through its cards for several years now, through the ISPs. And and then in the last election, we had a fundraiser for the president consistently online, where people could donate.
Then I think that so that we don't veer off the floor of our
just to learn, just a quick one. We also had an adopt a polling station approach, which was very transparent. You had the cost of conducting the campaign at a polling station, and people came in, adopted the polling stations, and paid for it from within the community. So it's not a question of high-end donor seeking
something necessarily in return that will be corrupt.
All right, thank you. I think that
There
that
is
is.
this
I
he didn't
think we
mention.
want to move on.
We
Mr.
pay
Ite.
dues.
Mr. Ite, we want
Our
to move
members
on.
pay dues every month.
Excellent. So
And we
that is another
accumulate
way
that
of
money to
raising
finance our
funds.
activities.
All right, thank you. And I think that is the purpose of conversations like this. It also brings up other issues for further interrogation. And so on another platform, we will discuss this matter. But moving along very quickly so that we can wrap up, we want to find out what informs the messaging that you put out in your political campaigns. How do you go about putting the messages together? Do you just say what people want to hear? Are you being populist? And I want Dr. Sikaanko to listen to the responses, or your messaging are informed by some sort of research or insight. Very briefly, my two political party reps. Very briefly.
Thank you. When it comes to messaging, since 1992, it was about a group of people we consider to be elite. They sit down, then they imagine the mood of the state, they come out with messages. In fact, this particular year, the 2020 election, our flag bearer has done a different thing altogether through the People's Manifesto, where we engage the people. We believe the power belongs to the people, and we must go to them for them to tell us what they need. So in our message for this particular election, we extracted it from the bottom approach. So everything that we talk about is engagement that we